So next up, we have Natalie Cook, who is from Appoint Consulting. We've just gone through a recruitment process ourselves with Natalie and her team, and it's made life so much easier. And having had her influence in what we do at Fortis in terms of our value proposition and all the different things that we need to be thinking about to kind of sell ourselves to people coming to work with us, it's been amazing. So really looking forward to your talk. No pressure whatsoever. So Natalie Cook, everybody. Right.
Find my place. I do like to pace. Thank you, everyone. Lots of new faces for me today, actually. So for those who don't know me, which is many of you, my name's Natalie Cook. I've spent the last 20 years working with public and private sector organisations on their talent acquisition strategies. Today I'm going to be bringing you insights from some 5,000 plus candidate interviews we've conducted over the last 3 years, and the clients that we've helped to support talent in really competitive and skills scarce marketplaces. So we're going to be looking at how the organisations we work with in the public and private sector and the learns on employee value proposition might be applicable within the education sector. So Appoint Consulting, as well as we said, being a recruitment agency and helping people to source talent in competitive and skills scarce marketplaces. Why did I put that sentence in? It's going to be a good one, isn't it? We also help organisations across their talent attraction life cycle. So predominantly at the front end in the retention and attraction piece. So we do help organisations to develop their employee value propositions, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We also offer skills workshops around engagement and retention topics, so performance management, interpersonal skills, etc. And we have a training team that help to develop bespoke training programs. We're just about to deliver a piece for a local law firm on customer excellence. So yeah, varied offering, but all centred around kind of maximising the potential of your human capital, really. So getting good people on board, keeping them on board, making sure they stay happy, in plain English. My second business is Humber Jobs. So this is a fully managed outsourced workforce solutions organisation. So we work with a well-known port authority across the Humber region, and we've been working with them for 3 years now. So originally the ask was to bring new talent into what was a really quite a stale talent pool, if you like. So you're looking at Quayside across the Humber region, workers that have been there for a very long time, maybe 2P'd over from up to 10 providers, and the talent pool was really, really stale. So the ask by the Port Authority to us was, how would we identify new talent and bring them in and upskill them to be able to supplement the talent pool so that they didn't have shortages. Obviously, it's logistics. Obviously, they've got to deliver, and the only way to do that was to increase that talent pool. So all of these insights we're talking about today are across those two pieces that we do. Oh, that's gone small, hasn't it? It's very, very tiny, so those thingy. I mean, we're going to look at the education landscape, we're going to look at some stats, and then once we've done that, we're going to spend most of our time talking about your employee value proposition and how you can develop it. So these stats are from the school workforce census. The figures are for last year. They were published in June this year. But in short, your pool of availability that you guys are fishing in is just under 1 million staff. This is state schools only, so public schools not included in this, nor further education, so just state schools only. So this is your talent pool, 1 million full-time equivalents. Half of those, just under half of those, are teachers. There's only 300 more teachers that join the workforce in 2023 from 2022. So really, really competitive marketplace. And just under 300,000 of those are teaching assistants. You can see the churn with the number of people coming into the sector and the number of people leaving the sector. So hence you're only up by 300 more in 2022, yet vacancies in the sector have doubled since 2020. Now, obviously, the pandemic will have had a play on those numbers, but actually you're still up 20%, 2022 to 2023. So, wow, have you guys got a tough kind of job on your hands in trying to secure the talent that you want. So just a bit of a show of hands. How many people in the room are in the kind of HR space here? And anyone in like learning development space, and anybody who is kind of making decisions or being involved in the recruitment process? Okay, great. So just a show of hands, how many of you consider recruiting a competitive sport? Good, yeah, that's good. Okay, so the piece that we're going to cover today really is when we're talking about an employee value proposition, just identify what it is and give you some ideas of how you can pull together your pitch really. So what is your pitch? You've got a teacher, head teacher, teaching assistant, HLTA in front of you. They're amazing, you want them. You know for a fact they're going to have 3 or 4 different job offers on the table. How are you going to seal the deal? What's your pitch? And have you given that thought? So hopefully we'll get the juices flowing today, and that by the time you leave you'll have a few ideas about that. So what is an employee value proposition? Essentially it's the deal that you're offering candidates when you're sat across the table with them, in the most immediate sense, but actually it should showcase your tangible benefits, your culture, how they're going to be treated when they join you, what opportunities they're going to benefit from when they get there, so career opportunities, personal and psychological development opportunities, what's the environment like, what's your purpose? I think purpose is a really important one for you guys in the education sector. You haven't got oodles of room on the benefits and rewards piece, but absolutely trying to channel your why and get people excited about why they should join your organisation should be layered into that EVP. Super important piece for you to consider. It's a promise of value to your candidates and employees, so it should definitely be reflected across all aspects of your communication right across the business, and we'll look at that later on. And it needs to have it needs to have your target market in mind. So what I mean by that is looking at the competitive landscape and understanding your why, understanding the why of perhaps your closest school and who's going to be your most likely competitor, and then understanding how you position yourself against that competitor, if that makes sense. But again, we'll open that up a little bit further. I think the important thing about an employee value proposition is that everyone's super excited at the interview stage, aren't they? Everyone's on best behaviour, and we're all saying, oh, it's going to be this and it's going to be that when you come and join us, and let's, making all the best promises. But I think it's really important to make sure that your employee value proposition is authentic, because it's not just about sealing the deal there and then in the moment. It's about retention, and you must include warts and all. And I think that the way that you package the warts, that's a lovely analogy for you, isn't it? It's a good job it's not post-lunch. The way you package your warts absolutely will have an impact on the retention piece. So yeah, in plain English, if you're going to sell somebody the dream and when they get there it's actually Butlins, you're going to have a problem on your hands. No offence to everybody who loves Butlins. Sorry, Katie. Sorry, Katie. There's always one, isn't there? Tight lawyers taking the kids to Butlins. Do you know what I mean? Oh, on your own? Oh my God, that's even worse. Right, anyway, segue. And it shouldn't be easily copied, because it's all about you as an individual, as a unique collective, and why people want to come and work with you. And if you get that right, you'll probably attract somebody that's actually right for your organisation. And again, that'll impact your retention stats. So what are individuals thinking about when they're browsing for and applying to jobs? What's the considerations that individuals are making when they're thinking about coming to join you? So obviously, yes, they're thinking about the people and culture, who they're going to be working with. They want to know what makes you different. They want to know about your purpose. They want to know why they want to join you. They want to know, meaningful work is something that we're seeing quite high up now on people's agendas for reasons why they join organisations. And Alexis and I did did a workshop recently on managing multiple generations in the workforce. And that was a really interesting piece because really there were 5 kind of key areas that people consider when joining organisations. Meaningful work came up over and over again, and that's something you guys can really sell. I mean, you're educating the future of the country, aren't you? So how much more meaningful can you get than that? So when you're putting this piece together, I think, as we said, what's important is capturing the unique essence of your organisation. So think of the ingredients that go into this. I like to think about alcohol at this time in the morning. I'm not sure it says more about me than you guys, but there we go. So think about what goes into the ingredients to make your own unique EVP cocktail, let's say. So I'll give you an example. My organisation, Appoint Consulting, we all love an Aperol there, so I thought that was an appropriate drink of choice. So we are a small business. We're based in Grimsby. We compete against large blue chip organisations, real large corporates. So you've got kind of Hayes, Adecco, all those guys, big training centres. So in my former life, I was head of permanent staffing for Adecco, and I was responsible for building out their training and onboarding piece for all of their permanent recruiters. So that was one of the roles that I did. So I know how good that is because I was integral in putting that in. We are a small business. There's 10, 12 of us now. We don't have a big learning and development team. But what we can offer is kind of radical freedom, because we've got lots of flexibility, and ultimate accountability. So what does that look like in terms of an EVP? It means that if our consultants are on track, they can pretty much do what they want in terms of working from home and flexible hours. Why does that work for me? Well, that's if somebody will go off and work with a large corporate, a trainee will go off and work with a large corporate, they'll get all of their experience, and when they're fed up of being dictated to and micromanaged, they'll come and work for me and they'll bring all of that experience with them, because that's how we brand it. They tend to be a little bit later on in life. They might have children, they might be carers, they might be sandwich carriers. So I'm thinking about, who am I trying to attract? I want people with experience. What's important to them based on where they are in their life stage, flexibility, and a bit of freedom and a bit of influence about how they deliver their work. They don't want to be dictated to. And then we're communicating that as we're sat across the table competing to secure this hire with a huge blue chip organisation. So just a bit of clever branding can really help you seal the deal.
You've also got an office dog.
And we've got an office dog, yeah. So yesterday I was walking, head of morale. So Dougie is the office dog. I should have really put him on the slides because he's really, really cute. But if you follow me on LinkedIn, you can see a picture of him yesterday sitting on the sofa in my office. We had a heavy-duty internal kind of compliance update yesterday, and he was exhausted after that. So I took him out for a walk, and this lovely lady over here came to accost him. She's like, "Can I stroke your dog?" Yes, of course you can. Yes, no, yeah, no, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. Yeah, he was very happy to see you. So what, you're going to sit down and you're going to think about putting together your employee value propositions. What considerations do you need to make before you put pen to paper? So yes, we've talked about your cocktail. We've talked about what you need to uniquely offer. I think it's really important that actually the best advocates of what you can offer are the people that are already working for you. So go away and speak to your existing employees and ask them, why are you here? because can't find another job. Not true, because you're all in education and they can all find another job. So why are you here? Why do you work for us? Why do you stay? What do you love about the people? You can do this in survey form if you're working for, large organisations. When we develop EVPs, we'll go out and with some kind of survey. But you guys work in relatively intimate settings, and I think you've got harness the benefit of being able to reach out and have direct conversations with the people that can sell it to you best because they're already there. I think speaking to candidates across the recruitment life cycle is quite important too, and especially new employees that have just joined you. So if you're looking at feedback for how your EVP lands during the recruitment phase, speak to new candidates because it's still fresh with them. So, you know, what made you pick me? Dead cringy. Do you love me? What made you pick me? Kind of thing. Not like that, sorry, else you'd be ringing up Katie, won't you, with a harassment case. Very, very creaky. Like that was a joke, asterisk. So yeah, what do your employees find challenging about working for your organisation? You know, that's great, let's get it on the table, because in terms of meaningful work, that can be real kind of meat on the bones for what it is I'm going to get when I get there. If I'm raring to go and I'm a little bit bored where I am at the moment, that's all good. Who are you trying to attract and what do they want? So we'll talk about this later. I've got a little pyramid, but just thinking about people at the different levels and what they want out of their journey at that level. And really importantly, what's the competition offering and how can you position yourselves to counter what they are going to offer? So in terms of your target audience, this is the triangle, if you like. So you've got your heads of schools. I know it doesn't look traditionally like this anymore. We've got lots of academies, you've got lots of different roles now, but there was just a little triangle, so I had to try and simplify it for the purpose of the slides. Heads of department, teaching staff, potentially higher level TAs, support staff on the bottom of the pyramid. So if you were kind of thinking of an EVP light approach and you're doing this as you recruit, so you're sitting down and you're thinking, right, I'm going to market for a head teacher, then you can refresh your EVP for each role that you recruit for, really. So how you're going to sell a job to a head and how you're going to sell a job to a teaching assistant, very, very different, because they're going to be looking for different things. So considerations, what do they want? How are you going to reach them? How do they want to work? And what support they need at those different levels, okay? So just tailoring it a little bit across the different levels. I think if you think about if you've been through a recruitment process yourself recently and you always go in and sitting down with a loved one or a friend and you're deliberating over which job to take, it'll be kind of how far have you gone to convey all of those pros and cons that are going to end up on those lists when people are sitting down and thinking with those loved ones, shall I take X job at X school or shall I take X job at this school? But also, this is really good for you to start thinking about outreach. So depending on how much of a long-term view you're going to take with your EVP. So if you're taking short-term view and you're just going to get something together to recruit for a role, great. But if you're thinking, right, I'm just in the process of developing a new site, or I'm just in the process of making a new department, for example, so launching something new, it's going to take some real volume recruitment, you're going to need to think about a more long-term view and you're going to need to think about more pipeline. So then we're talking about, you know, tailoring this strategy as you would a social media strategy, if I'm making any sense. So if you start thinking about a marketing strategy, it starts, your influence about whether you're going to buy a product or not starts much, much earlier in the buying decisions than when I'm sat in front of somebody being kind of sold a job, if that makes sense. So then you're thinking about tailoring perhaps your own social media strategies to your talent attraction strategies and your employee value proposition strategies. Hope I haven't lost you all there, but we're just talking about a little more of a long-term approach in terms of targeting. Straight. Oh, I've got a microphone on, haven't I? And have I just knocked it? Testing, 1, 2, testing. Can you edit that bit, please? Thank you. Yeah, so then once we've made all our considerations, we've got our cocktail, we've thought about our targeting, we've done some segmentation across the different roles, we absolutely must think about how we're going to develop and align these strategies across the wider business. So your employee value proposition is an extension of your brand as an organisation or as a provider. It has to align. It's got to be coherent with that. It's got to align with your purpose, and absolutely, it must kind of reflect the experience that the individuals are going to have when they land in your organisation. So put it all together, speak to your people, think about what you want to do, and then take a step back and get everything out and say, right, here's my policies, here are my leaders, you know, how do your leaders treat your employees as they're walking around the building? Is that being reflected in what you're telling people in your EVP? Make sure that everything is, you know, succinct and that it all matches up. And if there's something there that's like an aspiration project, just be calling that out in your EVP and be working on that as you go. When you're finished, it should look something a little bit like this. It might not, don't worry. We're here to help if you need it. If you don't, and if that's not something that you want to explore, not, you know, bringing outside consultants in to solve a problem isn't for everybody, this is an EVP light version that you can kind of consider. So in a nutshell, we're talking about your product, we're talking about your purpose, the people that you're going to work with, and conveying your passion. So these 4 Ps will help you to sanity check everything we've just talked about. And then just think about, are you compellingly telling your story and getting it out in the right place? Okay? So tips. I think EVPs will evolve as your organisation evolves, and that's really important. So you don't put something down in stone and then leave it and walk away, because depending on where you are in your journey, it will absolutely evolve. I think if you see new leaders come into businesses, that can affect a lot of change, and that kind of changes direction. And again, what you're going to be telling people about what to expect when they come into their organisations can be very different depending where you are on the trajectory of the new leader coming into the business. So refresh it, come back to it, make sure that it's current, and be patient with it. Again, got to connect to your purpose and your values and your wider brand and all your strategies and all your policies. Share your warts and all, be really honest, else your churn is just going to be shocking. So you can put together a super sexy EVP, but if when they get there it's just not going to be the reality, then it's a waste of an exercise. Absolutely speak to the employees. I think how many of you work with recruiters in this room? Just a show of hands. No, if you have got relationships with recruiters that you have worked in the past, speak to them, because every single day a recruiter will speak to, I don't know, maybe even 30 candidates, might be dealing with a desk of 30 different clients, and they're always having conversations with candidates and almost doing a little mini EVP pitch about each role that they're talking to their candidates about, and they will know. They will shine a light on your EVP for you, i.e. what's out there already. So if you rang your recruiter and said, right, sock it to me, I'm ready for a really blunt conversation, tell me what candidates are saying about our organisation. I want to know what they say about the interview process. I want to know, you know, how they view us, what do they think to the job adverts, what are the people who are leaving saying about my organisation. So if you're in a HR role or a business manager role, and that's something that you want to explore because you want to improve your EVP, do it, go for it, because a recruiter, you know, a consultative recruiter would sit and have that conversation with you, and it's just absolute liquid gold. You can use that to try and identify what areas of development that you might have. Obviously, it's got to match your talent plan, and it must be real. So Netflix, a really good example of this. You go on their career site, you see what they say, it absolutely matches up with what their Glassdoor reviews say. Perfect. You know that what you're getting, you know what you're being sold is what you're getting at the end of it. And just remember, it's more than kind of about rewards and benefits, but absolutely do make sure that your rewards and benefits are aligned with what's going on in the marketplace. And that's never been easier, because you can sit on Indeed and you can type in teaching assistant jobs near me, and you can see exactly what your competition are doing in terms of pay and remuneration. And I know there's, you know, constraints around what you guys can do, but there will be other things in there that you can kind of use as inspiration to be able to either position or counter position yourself. You might be in a fortunate position where you're paying slightly more, they're paying slightly less, or you're offering a bit more flexibility, or whatever it is, that you've got a more pungent purpose, and then you're like, right, good, okay, I know what I'm pitching against now. which is good. Good. So EVP trends, so these are the things that people are interested in at the moment. These are things that are drawing people to join organisation. Does anything jump out about that list to anybody?
It's less about money, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think, everyone watched the debate last night, didn't they? And we all know that the pound is having to sweat double hard at the moment. And I think it is what it is. So where can we find joy in other areas of our lives when that's the case? And people are almost trying to accepting that the remuneration is going to be what it is, but these are the other things that are going to make me happy.
I'm just thinking about that, the second one there about human connection.
Yeah.
Bringing my whole self to work.
Yeah.
It's really good to see that, and that's surprising that that's how people are feeling.
Yeah.
Often they have a different persona at work to what they have outside of work. It's managed.
Yeah. I think now it's really broad. So if you were to think of automatically protected characteristics, for example, so like race, religion, sexual orientation, thank you, Katie, and did well there, didn't I? Like not all of them, but some of them. Just there were a few more, just like damn. I think also neurodiversity, for example. So it doesn't have to be something that's super visible. The identification of ADHD, for example, and the way that people communicate. So, I think it doesn't have to be super serious, if you like. I think, and is somebody going to walk into a room and automatically reveal their sexual orientation? No, but people should now have more of an awareness for things and be more welcoming than the girl that randomly sings at her desk all the time and forgets what she's talking about. Definitely not. So these are really interesting trends. Just wanted to touch briefly, I've got 4 minutes, it's going to be really brief, and this was intentionally brief, on skills-based recruiting. So just out of interest, is anybody in the room exploring bringing kind of newly qualified teaching assistants into education setting, or are you always recruiting for people with experience? Yeah, brilliant. And when you're going out to market for those people, are you approaching your recruitment process with like a pared back kind of requirement in terms of job advertisements and things like that? So you're going out and saying, look, newly qualified, yeah, great. Or are you thinking about even bringing people in a stage further and helping them to qualify whilst they're...
Yeah, we've got apprentices.
Brilliant. Yeah, okay, yeah. So it's just thinking about a skills-based recruitment approach, basically, is a method of taking people on for their abilities, qualities, competencies, rather than their education or previous experience. So it's called the paper ceiling, if you like, and it will really help with your equality, diversity and inclusion outcomes because of the blockers in access to education for disadvantaged groups, basically. So if anybody's interested in looking at this, we have been working with a training provider, a national training provider, who provide skills boot camps for teaching assistants across lots of different levels. And they have been working with an organisation in Manchester who helped them to shape delivery of a 12-week education skills boot camp. So it was a really interesting case study, actually, because they worked with them in the design of what they wanted to be included across the boot camp. So things like your LGBTQ qualification, which I think the requirement came in maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, wasn't it? Maybe more SEND, autism awareness, trauma-informed practice, lots of different things like that they requested, they wanted to be included in this 12-week boot camp, and they managed to incorporate it into part of their recruitment process. So, for example, once they'd worked with the training provider to lay out what the course would look like, they then would pop in and observe the students online. just to kind of get a feel for which ones they wanted. So if you're thinking about taking more of a long-term view of your recruitment practices and you've got the time, and you might want to say, right, I want 4 newly qualifieds in 6 months' time, it might be worth thinking about partnering with some skills bootcamp providers and asking them how much you can get involved in the kind of longer term piece to grow your own, in essence. But I'm out of time. So if anybody wants to talk to me about that offline, then I'm more than happy to pick that up in more detail. We've got 1 minute and 11 seconds if anyone's got any questions.
Will these slides be sent out to us?
Yes, more than happy for them to be shared. No problem. Thank you. Thank you.